Welcome back to our channel. Today is a beautiful day, but things are getting incredibly ugly over at Forrester Creation. I need to process what we just saw with people who actually comprehend the magnitude of this drama because I am still shaking. Let's vent. So grab a drink and settle in. I am literally shaking. I cannot believe they actually went there. I'm typing this up late at night. My hands are hovering over the keyboard, and I am just screaming internally. Did you see that? Did you actually see Daphne wind up and deliver the slap of the century to Steffy Forrester? Because I watched the episode 3 times already, and I am still hyperventilating. I mean, we all knew the secret of Steffy and Carter's drunken hookup was going to come out eventually. This is a soap opera. Secrets are basically ticking time bombs with a neon countdown clock attached to them. But like this, in the middle of the office, with Rich standing right there and watching his precious daughter be slandered in front of the entire world. I am living for this drama, but I am also completely gutted for Daphne. Let's back up. Wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. Back to the point now. Let's really look at the absolute sheer tragedy of this situation and how we got to this explosive climax. I've been watching this show since 2015, and I have seen some truly despicable betrayals. Remember when Rich married Shauna in Vegas when he was blackout drunk? Remember when Liam waffled back and forth between Hope and Steffy for the millionth time? Yeah, didn't work then either. But this feels so much darker and so much more personal. Because Daphne didn't just lose her husband in this scenario, she lost her absolute best friend. Steffy was the one who stood by Daphne. Steffy threw her bachelorette party. Steffy was her rock when she moved all the way from Paris to Los Angeles to start a new life. And what does Steffy do the exact night Daphne leaves town because she is completely shattered by a premature menopause diagnosis? She sleeps with Daphne's husband on the Forrester CEO desk. I mean, the absolute audacity of it all is just staggering. Let's talk about the earring. Oh my god, the earring. It is such a classic soap opera trope, but it was executed so perfectly in this episode. Daphne comes back from Paris, right? She comes back because she realizes she loves Carter and she wants to give their marriage a real, genuine shot despite the infertility heartbreak that tore her apart. She walks into Carter's office, probably looking for a pen or maybe just wanting to surprise him with a coffee. And what does she find under the desk? A shiny, incriminating piece of jewelry. Not just any jewelry. Steffi's signature earring. The slow realization that crept over Daphne's face was an absolute masterclass in acting. You could literally see the gears turning in her head. The desperate denial fighting a losing battle with the obvious, sickening truth. As for Carter, I am sorry, but Carter Walton is a grown man who looked like a pathetic deer caught in the headlights. When Daphne confronted him with that earring, his awkwardness, his stammering, the sweat literally forming on his brow, it was embarrassing to watch. I used to love Carter. I rooted for him and Daphne. I wanted them to have that beautiful family they dreamed of. But the way he couldn't even look his wife in the eye, the way his silence basically screamed, "Yes, I slept with your best friend." Disgusting. He didn't even have the spine to confess it like a man. He just let the guilt radiate off him until Daphne figured it out herself. So Daphne puts the pieces together. And she doesn't just cry. She doesn't just run away back to Paris with her tail between her legs. No, she channels every single ounce of her grief, her inadequacy over her infertility, her broken heart. And she turns it into pure, unadulterated rage. The march down the Forrester Creations hallway. It was like watching an apex predator stalk its prey. You could feel tension radiating through the every step Daphne took was a nail in the coffin of Steffy's hypocritical, high and mighty facade. Then she burst into the CEO and of course, Ridge is there. Ridge is always there when Steffy needs to be coddled or protected. Steffy is probably sitting behind the desk, acting like the moral compass of the universe. Probably complaining about Hope, Logan, or Sheila. Because that's what Steffy does. She deflects. She points fingers at everyone else's sins while completely ignoring the massive, ugly skeletons dancing in her own closet. Daphne doesn't even hesitate. She unleashes on Steph. The dialogue was so raw and harrowing to watch that it hurts so much. She calls Steffy out for being the ultimate hypocrite, for pretending to be her best friend, her confidant, the person who held her hand while she cried over not being able to give Carter a baby. Steffy then spreads her legs in front of Daphne's husband the very same night that her world crumbles and she flees the country. I know some people are loving this dark, messy era for Steffi, but personally, I think it makes her look completely irredeemable. How do you come back from doing that to your best friend? How do you ever look yourself in the mirror? And then it happened. The blow. What? It was heard all over the Forrester building. Daphne put her entire soul, her entire broken heart into that. Steffi's head snapped back. And for a second, the universe just stopped spinning. I cheered. I literally yelled at my television screen in the middle of the night. Because Steffi needed that reality check. She has been skating by for months, judging everyone else, judging Finn for having an ounce of compassion for his birth mother, judging Hope for breathing, all while hiding this filthy, disgusting secret. The sheer look of shock on Steffi's face was priceless. She is so used to getting her way, so used to being the untouchable Forrester princess, that she genuinely didn't know how to process being held accountable for her actions. And Ridge. Oh, Ridge's reaction was the absolute cherry on top of this dramatic sun. He was completely stunned. He watched his daughter, his golden child, the co-CEO of his legacy, get publicly humiliated and slapped across the face in her own home. You know Ridge is going to try and defend her because he always does. Ridge has a blind spot the size of a Mack truck when it comes to Steph. But how do you defend this? How do you justify your daughter sleeping with the COO of the company who happens to be married to her best? Ridge is going to have a massive headache trying to spin this one. And I am going to enjoy watching him squirm. But wait, let's talk about the real victim here. Finn. Poor, sweet, incredibly gullible Finn. He literally just flew back from Monaco, groveling on his hands and knees, begging Steffi for forgiveness because he hid the fact that Sheila was on there. He promised to cut Sheila out forever. He poured his heart out, terrified of losing his wife, terrified of his family being ripped apart. And Steffi? She graciously forgave him. She acted like this benevolent queen bestowing mercy upon her peasant husband, all while hiding the fact that she slept with Carter. The hypocrisy is actually suffocating. When Finn finds out about this, and he will, because this secret is officially out of the bag and echoing through the halls of Forrester, it is going to destroy him. Am I the only one who thinks this is the absolute end of sin? I mean, how many times can Finn forgive? She ripped her wedding ring off in Monaco over a lie of omission. She abandoned him in Europe. And then she comes home and commits the ultimate betrayal. I am dreading the moment Finn finds out. But I am also kind of here for it because I want to see Finn finally stand up for himself. He deserves better than a wife who runs to another man the second things get. And let's not forget the elephant in the room. The rumors. The baggy clothes. The camera angles hiding Jacqueline MacInnes Wood's waistline. Is Steffi going to end up pregnant? Because if she does, there's absolutely no way she can pass that baby off as Finn's. The timeline won't work, and the guilt will eat her alive. Imagine Carter, who has been desperate for a child, finding out his drunken hookup with his best friend's wife resulted in the baby he always wanted while his own wife is infertile. The drama is so thick you could cut it with a knife. It's Shakespearean tragedy mixed with daytime soap perfect. Let me just go off on a tangent here for a second because the Carter of it all is really bothering. Carter is supposed to be the moral center of Forrester Creations. He officiates the wedding. He gives the sage advice. Remember when he had that affair with Quinn? We thought that was his lowest point. But at least Quinn and Eric's marriage was already a complete diss. Daphne and Carter were newlyweds. They were supposed to be building a life together. I think Carter's character is ruined by throwing that away, getting drunk, and sleeping with his boss, who is also the best friend of his wife. I know he was hurting. I know Daphne pushed him away. But you don't jump into bed with Steffi Forrester as a coping mechanism. And Steffi, what is going on in her head? She has this pathological need to be the center of attention. When Liam wasn't paying attention to her, she slept with Bill. Now Finn isn't perfectly aligning with her anti-Sheila agenda, so she sleeps with Carter. It's a pattern. A toxic, destructive, deeply ingrained pattern. I love JMW as an actress. She brings so much fire and intensity to the role, but the writers are turning Steffi into a full-blown villain. And the worst part is she doesn't even realize she's the villain. She still thinks she's the victim of Sheila, the victim of Hope, the victim of the universe. That slap from Daphne wasn't just a physical blow. It was a metaphorical shattering of Steffi's glass. Daphne.